Good morning and welcome to the Patricia Joe Grover Show, where we turn believers into achievers. And with me today, I have Thomas Canty. Thomas is from Vancouver, Canada. Thomas was born and raised in Vancouver and got his start in the accounting profession shortly after graduating from Lungaria with his diploma in accounting. Not one to be idle, Thomas recently completed his bachelor's degree in psychology from Queen's Continuing Distance Education Program while working full-time. His newest endeavor with a good friend of his providing business solutions to small business owners and entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, that will help them increase brand awareness and sales, as well as increase their client base through customer appreciation and referrals. The solutions are effective, efficient, and cost conscious. Shelley and Thomas' company is Hello VR Plus, was officially launched in July of 2020. So let me introduce. Thomas did something that he was always told he could not do, and that was obtaining a university bachelor's degree, let alone one in psychology. He's now taken on the challenge with a great friend and creating new business solutions with his company during the times of COVID. So thanks for being with us, Thomas. This is exciting
Thank you.
stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really honored to be on your show, Patty.
Well, I'm so glad that you've joined me, and I'm going to ask you some questions because I have, this dying need to know more about, what it is that you're doing, and also congratulations on your education, because that is something big, that is huge. So wonderful. Yeah. So let me ask you, so what held you back from reaching or exceeding your goals in the first place? What was it?
Well, when I was going to high school, there was a period of where I looked at things and some things were easier, some things weren't. And so basically, when I got close to graduating time, they said, you're really good in the business area. Go get a community college degree in accounting and, just do that because you're not going to be able to get into university. You don't have the high grades. You didn't do a lot in the sciences or the maths and stuff like that. So it'll be really hard for you to obtain a degree. And so, of course, dutiful person saying, this is where I'm at. This is all I can do. I went and got my diploma in accounting, and I've been doing accounting ever since. It wasn't until I was probably in my mid-30s when I was living on my own, and I met a neighbor as we were taking transit to work, and she was talking about how she was excited that she was getting close to getting her degree. And so I said, oh, really? How are you getting your degree? And she explained that she had, when she was a single mother and back east, she had time when her kids were at school. So she applied to Queen's University, which is in Kingston, Ontario, and basically started working on her degree. And so when she had to move to BC, she put that on hold for a little bit and was picking it up and finalizing it. And I thought, wow, this is a woman who is in her 50s at that time, and she's working on getting her degree. So I should probably check into this. So I went online, started looking at what was available. I decided to apply, and within a few weeks, I got the notification that I'd been accepted into the Arts and Sciences program through their continuing education. They really appreciate and respect mature students who have decided to come back and get their degree. And I looked at it and went, you know what, I'm going to do this. It's going to take me some time because, one, you just don't have the time because you're working full time to quit and just do classes. But also, you're being cost conscious because, you've got to pay your mortgage, you got to pay everything else. And so it took me a few years to get it done. And for my 50th birthday, I actually got to walk across the stage at Queen's University to receive my degree, bachelor degree in psychology, which was like, holy, you know, proud, I've done it. I've got my degree. And, unfortunately, there was nobody left from the high school teachers because many years had passed and,
Right.
some of them were retired, some of them had passed away. But it was a really intense, proud feeling for myself to be able to say I did it and that I accomplished it. And, and I am really proud that I could say I got a B minus average, doing this degree where I was told in high school I wasn't going to be able to do it.
That's a kudos. That is kudos to you, because taking that much on is tremendous. Because you're fitting that now into the life that you already have developed. So
Mm-hmm.
then you have to start shifting your life around that, because that becomes your focus or your goal.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm all about, is teaching people how to do different things. So I have clients that I work with that are looking at doing what you just did, especially now in the time of Corona, because not knowing if jobs are going to be, what they're going to have for a job. They need to get more education to be able to continue in the work environment and field, because some things aren't opening up anymore. Some business have closed and may not open, um, with that. And some people have worked for companies for their whole careers, and they were looking at retiring, and now those companies are having to go out of business. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things there. Also, I've worked with clients who are younger. I have one client that was in middle school and one in high school that their parents hired me to work with them, because um, wanting them to be prepared to take high school
Mm-hmm.
seriously, and then really be thinking about what they want to do for college, so that they don't go to college and spend all that time and money getting an education in something that they don't end up getting a job in, or they get that job and they're there for a year and decide they don't like it, and now they're $250,000 in student debt. And so there's
Exactly.
so many things to be able to have an understanding of what it is you want. And you knew what you wanted earlier on, but you had those um people putting you inside that box. And that's
Yeah.
what I teach people, is how to live outside that box of limiting beliefs, whether you've put those limiting beliefs on yourself, or you allowed other people to do it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it just comes to a point where it's time to break free of that box, and it was for you. So fabulous. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is
Thank you.
fantastic. Awesome. So how did you change um to become believing in yourself and actually wanting to achieve those educational goals?
Well, as I mentioned, it was teachers, back in high school that said that, just get your diploma. And as you mentioned, living outside the box, it was like I was doing intake counseling for people with HIV and AIDS and their family, and going, this just feels right. This just feels like an area that I need to be looking into and doing. And the the people I was connected to that were running that department kept saying, "You have a skill set here," and it's not just a skill set for being one on one with people. It's a skill set where you can, be in an accounting role and dealing with an irate vendor and being able to diffuse the situation. It's being there for friends where you may have had some anger or animosity at them for I'll use an example. A friend of mine was saying that she got proposed to and was going to have a big wedding and everything. And then she called me out of the blue saying, please don't be mad with me, but we're getting married this weekend, and you know, it's going to just be family and the witnesses. And of course, I've known this woman for 20 plus years, and of course it hurt. It's like I wanted to give a speech and talk about our experiences together, and so, and then years later, she confided in me that it wasn't what she expected the relationship to be. Essentially, he was using her to basically get legitimacy to just to stay in the country. And
Oh.
she had gone through a very rough time and experience. And she was talking to me about this, and I'm looking at it and going, I could stay in the hurt, I could stay in the anger, or I could just let it go and live outside this box and say, you know what, past is past. Let's just deal with what we've got right now and listen to her and support her and take care of her. And so that helped me in defining what I wanted to do and how I wanted to get it. And of course, when you're not into the sciences and the maths and all that kind of stuff in high school, you think, how am I going to deal with this in college and university? How am I going to get, through biology or pharmacology, or courses that deal with areas that I don't have a lot of experience in. And it was interesting. I just will share about the pharmacology course. This was a course, you're talking about drugs and how that interacts with the body and the different things that people can expect from taking the drug, or the ramifications of taking the drug that could possibly happen. And a lot of it was technical, a lot of it was scientific based, and I just kept going. I just said, oh, you know what? I'm going to create flashcards. I'm going to create flashcards for me to look at and to memorize and everything. And wouldn't you know, I got an A in the class. And it was like, holy cow, course that back in high school, I wouldn't have been able to understand or deal with. And now as an adult and really wanting this, really wanting to complete this experience and looking at it and going, I just got an A in something that I thought I couldn't do. I thought I couldn't succeed at. I thought, okay, well, I'll be happy if I get a C. But it showed me that I have skills. It showed me that I have a drive and determination. It showed me that this is something obviously that I was meant to experience and to learn and to go through. And I believe firmly that people and places and things are put in our life for a reason. It's just making sure we step outside that box. And there's a song that kind of helped me along with it's this color outside the lines. It's a spiritual song, but it says, that we don't have to be within those lines of a coloring book character. We can make it as beautiful or as different or as intricate or whatever that we want it to be. We don't have to stay in those lines to color that picture.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And that is so, so, so true. And like you said, for you, it was those teachers having that, oh no, that's, you're not going to be capable of that and everything. Well, you know, when people talk to other people like that, that's not doing them any good. But sometimes, and what I've learned over the years doing research, to be able to do what I do now, is that sometimes those people that say those things, some are trying to, um, it makes them feel better to put people down like that. But in other people, sometimes people say things to try to protect you from getting hurt or wasting money or whatever at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Now if somebody realized, now this is the situation here, if somebody realized maybe that wasn't the time for you to be doing that,
Yep.
and say maybe do that later, because the timing it had to be right for you for this to
Yep.
happen. And sometimes, again, we can have all the plans, and I specifically teach people how to plan, because it's really important to, if you're going to achieve your dreams and goals, to be able to have plans, you
Yes.
know. But sometimes we can have all the plans we want, honey, but you know what? If it's not the right time, if whatever the higher power, whether you believe in God or a
Yep.
higher power, whatever it may be, timing isn't right. Maybe that purpose just hasn't, come to settle
Yep.
yet. So obviously, though, now was the right time for you, and that was perfect. So it's put you in the place now to do what you are here to do. And
Yep.
that's, again, I love it. I love it. I love it. And so that just goes to show, hey, viewers, you know, right, down below, when, right down below, is it your time? Is it your time? Don't be afraid to step outside and take on those challenges, because, there is something more waiting for you. It just takes making those first steps. And that sometimes is difficult. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to me, because I'll be able to help guide you. Um, so, so much excitement with that, because it really does show people
Mhm.
that, it may not be the time when you tried something before and you weren't successful. It may not have been the right time. But I tell people too, if you have dreams that come back to you, you know what I mean, you keep thinking about that, it's still in your head somewhere, it it's coming back for a reason. If you wanted to do something when you were younger and it keeps coming back to you, and you never did it because, oh, I don't think I can, or I don't have the money now, or whatever, it keeps coming back for a reason. And
Yeah,
for you, Thomas,
exactly.
that was definitely for you. It was your purpose.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but now tell us about the business that you've created with Shelly, and during this whole time of COVID, and how it's normally the time that people are stressed, with stuff that's going on, and with businesses downsizing, but how this has flourished. Can you tell us about this?
Well, just to give you a little patting around the whole thing about Shelley and I. Shelley and I met 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, and as I was mentioning before, people and places are put in your life for a specific reason. So we were at a conference, and my partner and I were heading back to the airport to fly home. And so we got to the main airport. We got our security clearance. We got the luggage checked in. We had to go to a different terminal. So we were sitting at the back of this bus as we're going around to the different terminal, and there was Shelley and this other lady talking, and they were saying, "We hope we're going the right way," and we don't know exactly what we're doing because it's our first time in Atlanta, and so we happened to ask her where she was flying home to, and she was flying home to Victoria, and we're saying, "Oh, we're in Vancouver," which is essentially Victoria's the Vancouver Island, which is across the body of water, but it's like 2 hours on a ferry to reach her, and so it's really close. And so we ended up realizing we were on the same flight to Ontario first. So you went from Atlanta to Ontario, Ontario to Vancouver, and we sat in the waiting area waiting for our flight to be called. It got delayed. It got delayed. And of course, snow in Ontario was falling sideways, so they didn't have clearance to take off because they couldn't land at that point. So we spent 4 hours in the Atlanta airport talking. And this was a perfect stranger. I hadn't met her before. I knew nothing about her. And we just sat and we talked for 4 hours. And then we finally were allowed on our plane, and we had a 2.5 hour flight. We chatted on the flight. We landed, and of course, the gate agents are saying, "Yeah, you missed your flight, so you have to stay over in Toronto." And she had a sister in Toronto, and my partner's mother lives in Toronto, so we went to our respective places, and the rest is history. We've been really, really good friends for the past almost 3 years. She's come and stayed with us. We've stayed with her, and it, it was like a symbiosis of something that was meant to happen. And so with this whole COVID thing happening and then becoming members of Digital Business International, we were looking at things and going, it's a tough time for businesses, for people who are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. It's not a comfortable place for people to be in because they don't know what's going to happen. How do I promote? How do I market myself? What solutions are going to help me save money and be more efficient? And unfortunately, as you mentioned, a lot of businesses are closing because they can't just do it. And so Sally and I started talking about the different things that we bring. And to tie back in the degree of psychology and the stressful time businesses were having with COVID, it's really useful tool to being able to understand. I may not understand the personal situation that they're in because I haven't gone through it, but I can appreciate, I can understand the ways that it impacts their lives and the stresses that they're under. And it allows us to be more effective and compassionate and understanding of those situations. So, I mean, like, I do accounting, Shelley does virtual administration. We both have marketing backgrounds and able to help people with getting their word out, getting lead generations and all that kind of stuff. Plus, now we are world builders, world illustrators in Sansar, which is a 3D experience. Which you can either have the goggles or you can have the computer. It's allowing people to experience things that they never thought they could do before. And looking at this, going, her skill set, my skill set, wow, they connect. They it's like puzzle pieces. You know, it's a good fit. And it makes the picture better and brighter, and we get along so well together. And so, looking at this, going, you know what, we should really do this. And so we started talking, and I mentioned to a previous mentor, and she's, well, businesses are cutting their marketing budget. Businesses are doing this. So are you sure you really want to start something? It's going to be really an uphill slog. But really, when you look at it,
Well, when you look at it, it actually is Mother Nature causes necessities in its invention. That's where invention comes from, is what happens out there, the needs that we have now in the world compared to what they were. It really does make a difference. Um, I know that we have a little delay here with Thomas. I don't know if he's fallen off there. I don't know if it's his side or my side, but I'll just, oh, so I lost him, but we'll keep on going here. I will add him when he comes back on. I have become involved with DBI also. That's Digital Business International. And they I'm working in the networking aspect of it because everything has to do, when you have a business, everything has to do with networking and the quality in which you can grow your relationships with people with the know, like, and trust. Just like Thomas said, he and Shelley were able to develop that relationship. I'm developing that relationship with people within DBI that were already there, that before I became a member, but now I'm helping them grow their networking, so that this is international networking that we're talking about. And Thomas and Shelley are more involved with putting together the virtual part of it, being world builders and creators for people that have needs to have things built, like I'll have my office built in virtual reality. I'm letting Thomas back in now. There we go. There, he's tuning in now. There, we got you back. That's fine.
Yes.
I was yakking
Apology.
away while you were gone so that viewers still had. And what I said, is that um, since you and Shelley do everything like world building and all that, but I was saying how with DBI, since become involved, I've been helping to try to put the networking piece, the international
Mhm.
networking piece together, because it all works together. Because originally you were saying how businesses have this need to continue to grow and find new ways, future forward thinking.
Yeah.
And that's how the expo came to happen, right? Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the expo is a brainchild because when you look at it, we can't do the same things that we used to do, right? We can't go and be in an exhibition hall and have hundreds and hundreds of people come by your booth, stand there, talk to you, maybe five people, and you're not doing social distancing, or you have to wear a mask, and have conversations that way. It was a brainchild to say there are other ways of doing things, and there are other ways of doing things that are not just the flat Zoom experience where you're talking to a person, but it's still a flat experience. Whereas in the expo, you're actually talking to somebody. You're actually conversing with a thing that is moving, that can walk you over to the main stage to show present your to hear a speaker, and who can send you link information by saying, here, click here. You can get to my website. You can get, contact me details. And it's a way to add that extra level of one-on-one experience. Just to share a quick story is, um, one of our friends, both of our friends, has his main avatar is a little blue alien, right? And uses DNA. And we were sitting in an event in Sansar, just talking, and we shared deep personal stories. We were just sitting there having a conversation as two people would, about things that mattered in life. And I went, I'm looking at this little blue alien on my screen that's moving around and talking to me and everything, going, that's not a little blue alien. That's the
Right.
person to it. And Shelley mentioned one time she was talking to somebody and she didn't realize that her avatar had the back to this other person who was talking. She said, oh, I'm really sorry. I have my back to you. That's rude. Let me turn around. And she said, wow, this is weird
Right.
because it's an avatar. And I'm saying, I'm sorry, I was being rude. I had my back to you.
Exactly, because
So, yeah,
when you are seeing yourself, because you're seeing yourself as your avatar inside,
mm,
and so when you're seeing that and you're having that conversation, just like Thomas, just like you and I are having the
yeah,
conversation right now, because our booths are next to each other in the expo, and
yeah,
we have conversation that way, that we're talking back and forth
yeah,
as the avatar. So it's just like you are talking to the other person. So in the
yeah,
experience, when we're up talking on stage and there are avatars sitting in the chairs in front of them, every single one of those avatars is sitting behind a computer screen just like we are on Zoom right
yeah,
now. So there is that person to person connection. It's just bringing everything across in a future forward way. And
yeah,
in what's going on in the world today, when you're talking, I mean, I heard on Good Morning America or whatever it was today or something about the talk that, some colleges are looking at going back to college this fall. They're looking for another way to
yeah,
do education. And I know that you and I and other people in our GBI group are talking about a proposal that somebody in the educational system has put together for us to be able to bring education virtually via avatars for kids to be able to go to school, not be exposed to COVID-19, and keep schools, teachers, and everyone safe and still provide the same quality of education that they could have sitting in a classroom.
Yep.
So it is so exciting. So yes, and being on the cutting edge of that with what you and Shelley do, as far as you guys do the building of this stuff that can be utilized for this. So that
Mhm.
is fantastic.
Oh yeah, and the possibilities are endless. Like I have a friend who teaches kinesiology, and he was saying they record video, and the students play the video, and then they can ask their instructor on a Zoom, questions. But he was saying that sometimes students tune out because it's boring. It's a drone, of what's going on, or they, as people say, go down a rabbit hole because they're listening to their teacher and they're looking at something else on their computer. Whereas being in virtual reality, you've got that wow experience. You got that, oh wow, I'm sitting with 50 other people in a room with the instructor up there, and you can raise your hand and ask your question and have a conversation. Whereas you're not defined by, okay, this is the lecture, then ask your questions. You're actually going one on one, and you can do your presentations in virtual reality. You can show videos in person, virtual reality. You can do PowerPoints. You could, there's so many possibilities that you can do that's taking it to the next level, that's exciting people, that's making people go wow, and tuning in, and you're less willing to go down that rabbit hole.
Exactly, exactly. And then um, with the virtual university that is built and being used right now in Sansa or now on VR. I mean, there's the track that you can go
Yeah,
run the track. There's the soccer field. I mean, kids could attend school and still have a soccer team, but
yeah,
their players could be from all over the world,
yeah,
and it is,
exactly.
it just blows my mind. But still, how engaging is that for kids? How much is that going to keep them in and keep them
Hmm.
focused? Because they're much more used to, their generation that's much more used to the technical side of it and gaming. So this puts those things together,
Hmm.
and it makes it click more for them. So that,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
Well, I'm a product of the 60s. And back then, there was no such thing as a personal computer, let alone virtual reality. It didn't take until the 90s before they actually had personal computers in school, and they were big suckers, that were sitting on the desk. And it's we've come a long way, but yet the technology doesn't have to be limiting. Once again, it's stepping outside your box. I mean, you're embracing it, you're using it. I'm embracing it, I'm using it. And I'm 54 this year. I look at it and go, wow, I'm 54 and I'm using virtual reality. Whereas I had a friend who at 70 said she was still typing her letters to people because she didn't think she was able to learn a computer at her age. My mother-in-law, who is 75 years old, has a baby computer that she does genealogy on. She brings it with us with her when she comes to visit. She does PowerPoint displays, presentations, and she's in her 70s. Anybody can do this. You
Exactly.
just need to break outside the little box that you've created for yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And so this is fantastic times. And for people who are watching this and stuck at home and not knowing whether you're going to have your jobs to go back to, what's going to happen to the business either that you own
Yep.
or, that is your employment. you know think think outside the box. Don't limit yourself. I say let your curiosities be greater than your fears, and
Hmm.
start looking at things that will get you to where you want to be, because tomorrow is going to come whether you're ready for it or not. Life happens whether we're ready for it or not. So you might as well be prepared and go in a positive direction. So
But
wonderful.
it's also recognizing your fears,
Hmm.
right? Like you said, not letting your fears limit you, but recognizing your fears and appreciating your fears and finding ways to get past those fears.
Right. And what I teach my clients is, whether it be a fear, there are many things. How I say to deal with them is, think of it, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Take
Yep.
that big fear, break it down. Okay, this is the hindquarters, this is the ribs, whatever the case, however you
Yeah.
need to break it down in your head. And then break it down so that it debunks it. It really takes the power away from that fear, and
Yep.
you can dissolve it a little bit at a time, so then that's how you can overcome it and be able to move forward, and use what you learned from that fear and how you got that fear, whether it
Yep.
was from something that you were told as a child, or whatever. Use everything that you learned from that as fuel to move you forward.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, so glad you joined me, Thomas. This has been
I really
awesome.
appreciate you asking me.
And I just see nothing but fantastic things happening with DBI, both in the virtual expo and event field, because
Yep.
there's actually concerts going on in the
Yep.
virtual reality, and it's so that people can still have entertainment.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. And then what's happening with education and what's happening for business growth and networking is phenomenal too. Um, so glad to have you join me. Do you have anything else for our guests and viewers, to anything you want to say or share with them?
Yep. Just believe in yourself. Trust that if you have a desire to do something, see if it's possible. Do the work to find out that it's possible. Don't just say, "Oh, I can't do this." You know, put your fears off to the side. Like I said, recognize that they're there, appreciate that they're there, and do the work that's necessary to find out. I mean, it took me hearing that lady talking about she was getting her bachelor degree to say, maybe I can do this. And contacting Queen's University and finding out, yes, I can do this. Doing the coursework. Yeah, it took me 11 years to get it done, but I got it done. And on my 50th birthday year, I got to walk across that stage. I got to have my degree handed to me. And you
Fantastic.
know what? Just keep going forward. And I would like to offer your viewers a one-on-one discussion with them about how to brand themselves, how to allow themselves to step outside that box, and basically do a free 30-minute conversation with them about the possibilities that of what they were looking to do, helping them realize their potential. And the best way to reach me is at the email address which you have for me. And we can go from there and make people turn believers into achievers.
Fantastic, Thomas. So what we'll do is we'll put this below.
Yep.
We'll put the email address to contact you below. And I want to say, because I am the goal achievement strategist, I have a special gift for all the viewers. It's going to show up on my the video that you see, a short video that plays after this. So until next time, joining me and the next guest I have a wonderful day. And remember, we turn believers into achievers. Bye bye.